Hi, this is Adam Eliyahu. I'm here with a very important, very special guest, Gil Hoffman. He's the head of Honest Reporting. And that's why I wanted to talk to him because Gil has decades of experience covering politics in the Knesset for the Jerusalem Post. And he's probably the biggest expert I know on politics. But as the head of Honest Reporting, I think he is the general on the eighth front that Israel is fighting in this war. And that is the war that everyone I've been told that we're losing, but I'd love to hear your assessment. And that's the information war. And it has huge implications. So, first question and most important question, is Israel losing the information war?
Thank you for having me on your show, Liao, and really my entire team that are the generals, and I'm just a small part of the amazing work that they're doing at Honest Reporting. To give your question the proper substance, we need to go back. In September of 2023, I had a briefing with Daniel Hagari, the spokesman of the IDF. The IDF spokesman is a very important role, man closest to the chief of staff. And I was there along with other veterans of the IDF spokesman's unit in English. And he wowed us when he said to us, "You guys are the hourglass that give the army the time to accomplish what it needs to accomplish in a war." No one in his role had ever realized that before, but it's always been true. And this war has proven him right. That
Painfully right.
Yes, and other wars in Gaza lasted 6 days. We're pretty good at 6-day wars, but this war, we needed a longer war in order to rid Gaza of its terror infrastructure that had built up for 17 years and also make Israel safer on the other military fronts. And so what's been good in this war is that honest reporting and people around the world who have questioned the media have enabled Israel to have the long war that we've unfortunately needed to have. Other wars, they lasted 6 days. Then the world media put pressure on world leaders who put pressure on Israel to end the war without any accomplishments.
And we've been dealing with existential threats that have threatened Israel for decades. And
Right.
because we've had the time and the time has given us the freedom to really deeply root out these threats, including the Iranian nuclear threat.
Right. And I believe that questioning the media, not just us, but people around the world, from the false accusations about bombing a hospital 10 days into the war, until the most recent accusations about starving children and deliberately targeting journalists, all along, people have expressed doubt about what they're getting from Gaza. And that's what's allowed this war to have the successes it has had. So, are we losing the PR war? Well, what the PR war was necessary to accomplish on the military battlefield was accomplished in part because of the successes on the PR war. Has
Mm.
Israel and the Jewish people around the world paid a price because we look terrible? Of course, no one can deny that. And please God, when the war ends soon with success, then we're going to have to gradually get over that, and the narrative war will really begin, and then we'll know the answer to your question.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you're first of all you're fighting an uphill battle. It's the odds are so much slanted against you. It's like the bias is sometimes absurd and laughable, but it's there. The famine libel, the genocide libel, all of the and they've changed the meaning of words
Yeah.
in order to and I think you guys are definitely fighting an uphill battle. And not only you're fighting an uphill battle, but you're not just fighting a battle for Israel. This is not just an existential war for Israel's survival. We're seeing that this is the information war is an existential war for the life of the Jewish people.
Oh, and even more, the entire Western civilization. I,
Also,
I, I'm glad you see that, and I'm glad you appreciate it. Uh, Jews don't fear an uphill battle, and we know that we're fighting to make the world a safer place. So the moment that the war ends on those seven military fronts, and it will, then the narrative war is what continues. And then there's a very, very stark contrast, Eliyahu. Either Israel became an international pariah like apartheid South Africa, or we save the entire world from a genocidal terrorist threat and from an Islamic fundamentalist nuclear bomb. It's one or the other. It's that stark. And if the world continues to believe the lies, terrorism will increase around the world. The entire world will become more unsafe. Jews will have a hard time living in the diaspora. Israelis will have a hard time traveling abroad. Things will that we never even dreamed of that had happened in this war won't go away. If the world understands the truth, we're going to have a post-war economic boom in Israel that will come from the people that will be visiting our country who couldn't after during COVID, and then a war, and the high tech will expand. The Abraham Accords will expand to more Arab and Muslim countries after Saudi Arabia, Asian and African countries are going to join. Israel become a strategic and economic regional power. Terrorism will decrease around the world. Jews can travel. The entire world will be more safe. It all depends on the true narrative getting out there, and everybody who watches this can be a part of it.
Right. And I think you're right. First of all, yes, the information war on a tactical level, just on the here and now fight for on the fronts in Gaza, in Iran, in Syria. It's important that we be given the freedom, and the freedom comes from people understanding this is the truth. But also, we're talking about the enemies of Israel. They redefine words. Like when they started claiming genocide, I'm like, wait a second. The population of Gaza has gone up since the
Correct.
war started. Unless I'm not understanding the word that I learned when I was a child, this isn't a genocide. But this is an enemy that has no problem rewriting history. That's actually their main strategy. And so after the war, my dear friend Gil is going to be battling against people rewriting the history of what just happened.
Okay, so if it's me or my boss, the CEO of Honest Reporting, Jackie Alexander, is based in Florida, if one of us is the commander of the narrative battlefield that you claimed at the beginning, and we are qualified to do that, who was the commander of Hamas? The answer is not Sinwar or any of the replacements for Sinwar. The answer all along has been Abu Ubaidah. Abu Ubaidah was uh, not just the spokesman, but the commander of the information war of Hamas for more than 20 years. And Israel killed him in a targeted strike in Gaza on Sunday. It's possible, Eliyahu, that that was the most important event that happened in this war. And people have not realized that. They called him, oh, he's just a spokesman, as if he's like some recent college graduate or something. No, this is the guy. That Hamas is not an army. Hamas is a media war, incredible movement that's had so many successes on that media battlefield over the last 20 years under his leadership. And now he's gone. This is a tremendous opportunity to change this 180 degrees now.
Boom. There goes a typical Gil Hoffman insight. It's right in front of everyone, but only you have the experience and depth of understanding to see what it really means. You just blew me away. Yeah, and it's amazing. Hamas, which should be the most hated organization in the world, they literally kill babies, rape, take civilian hostages, and yet you have crowds in around the world cheering them on. You have them being represented in the mass media by U.S. politicians saying, "Oh, and that lady, what's her name from the UN?"
Rashida praised them up and
Yeah,
down in the in the conference in Detroit this week on Palestine that if anybody hasn't seen what's come out of that conference, the insane things said about, praising Hamas and down with America that happened over there. People need to know because it was underreported around the world. We wrote an article about it. It's leading the website on honestreporting.com right now. If you're on Twitter, please follow a fellow named Stu Smith who put out 40 videos from this event. You'll watch, and I'm sorry to say, you will throw up from watching these videos.
And Francesca Albanese, I saw a video where she says, "Oh, Hamas is it's a political organization. They're like bureaucrats. They run." And I was just like, not like any political organization I'm familiar with. And that's become a talking point for a lot of people because they have such control of the information environment that they can get away with the most absurd, obscene lies. And you're right, to take out their information people is really key. It's as important as killing Iranian nuclear scientists. It's
Yes.
right up there.
No, I'm glad you said scientists and not leaders, because leaders
No,
might
no.
have been what I was saying before, but you've taken it further there, Eliyahu. The scientists have this know-how that can't be replaced.
Right.
That's why killing them was so important to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, and especially killing as many of them as possible, so you'd get the replacement of the replacement isn't there either. Here, there aren't too many people in the world who are irreplaceable. Abu Ubaidah was irreplaceable. Abu Ubaidah was revered throughout the entire world. Every word he said was seen as like a command to the people, the masses of Gaza. Children idolized him,
The,
and he knew what to do. Let's not forget, Eliyahu, who was the replacement for Hitler? Who did he appoint
uh,
as his replacement?
it was Goebbels, wasn't it?
Goebbels. Goebbels, not Himmler, not only people had this job of deputy while Hitler was around. No, he appointed the propaganda chief as the chancellor of Germany because he understood how important that was.
So you've given me reason for hope. I've kind of, to be honest, as I've been in Israel since '91, not as long as you, but uh, since before you were born. I've never seen Israel put so much effort into the information war as they have since October 7th. They really have put a lot of effort into it, and you reassured me with that story. You're like, they did that intentionally even before the war started. They were aware that they had to fight and win this information war.
Can you be just careful? You're praising Israel. Israel, who does that refer to? I praise the
Uh,
IDF.
okay,
Uh,
okay, fair
I
enough.
didn't praise the government. Let's
Uh,
talk about what the government has done.
oh,
Okay,
excellent.
Netanyahu did not appoint an English spokesman in his first 9 months in office. He took office in December 2022. He appointed an English language spokesman October 8th. I guess he realized then that he had to. He needed to realize that before. He brought in, it wasn't him, it was Mark Regev, brought in Elon Levy, who by all accounts did a very good job. He was fired for his political opinions. He was
Mm.
replaced by a very capable person named Avi Hyman, who happens to be good friends with Yair Netanyahu, the prime minister's son. But that does not make him bad at what he does. He did a good job. Then when he left, he was replaced by David Menzer, who is still in the role right now and has had his ups and downs and has called only one press conference over the last 2 weeks. They used to be every day.
Mm. Okay, so you're saying the Israeli government per se kind of dropped the ball or ignored the issue.
There are
The
several posts that deal with public diplomacy that are statutory posts within the government that have not been filled. I think we
wow.
needed them to be filled.
Wow, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of people who have stepped up, I don't in various functions like Elon Levy,
On his
what's his
own
yeah, and
since he left the government.
right,
So
exactly.
it's one thing to praise activists, it's another thing to praise the government.
And I have noticed that a lot of my friends, people I care deeply about and people I respect deeply, um, have stepped up, and it's been actually they've been very successful at it and gotten a lot of exposure. Even people like oh gosh, Yishai Fleischer.
Sure.
Um, people he was always a podcaster, but all of a sudden, wow, he's a major personality. Cornelius,
Okay, John Conricus, when he's
right.
drafted, is an official army spokesman,
And he's good.
and and very good. And when he's not drafted, he does things on his own, and he also works for the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. So you've got people who are paid to be spokespeople, and you have people that have just done it on their own, and both deserve praise for what they've done.
Yeah. So, okay. So you've also given me hope. Yeah, you tempered that a little and brought me down a little bit, but at the same time, you, I, everyone seems to say quite simply, "Oh, Israel's losing the information war," but I kind of felt like that wasn't the whole story, and you confirmed that. And also the fact that even if we are losing ground or whatever, we were never gonna win it. It was
I'm not saying we're not losing it. Netanyahu and Trump have both said we're losing it in the last couple of weeks. That they know what they're talking about.
yeah.
Uh, but Netanyahu has, at various points, made a decision about prioritization. When you're talking about putting out information, that there's three different fronts. You have information you put out to your people, you have information you put out to your enemy, and you have your information you put out to the world. Now, it's very rare that all three are the exact same information to be effective. That means you have to choose one over the other. For a large portion of this war, for the first time ever, decisions were made to put the world over the other two.
Mhm.
Is that happening now? No. Should it? Everyone can decide for themselves. There's obviously a calculated risk that's being taken now of doing things that look unpopular in order to have long-term results of making the region more safe. We can all hope and pray that that strategy pans out.
Amazing. So, Gil, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I actually do want to take up a lot of your time, but I know how busy you are. Um, so I have one last question. Honest reporting, you watch the media all the time, and I send you whenever I see a whopper of a headline from like BBC with the fake images and all that stuff. I shoot you a WhatsApp and say, Gil, did you see this? And of course, you've seen it, but you can't report on everything. You can't debunk everything. It's just drinking from a fire hose. There's just way too much. So if you had a wish list of lies you could stop the media from reporting, what's at the top of that wish list?
I want the world to know that Israel did everything possible to minimize the loss of civilian life on both sides, while its enemy did more than any enemy in the history of mankind to maximize civilian deaths on its own side as well as on our side. We've been effective at times, less effective at other times. They've been less effective at times and more effective at other times. But that's the story of this war, and the world doesn't understand that enough. And that's why it's important that there are shows like yours. I know that you have a lot of followers here who are watching this who are Christian believers. There was a report that made it among the top reports highlighted on the Microsoft website that people get when they open up their browser, an opinion piece that said, this isn't the Israel of the Bible. It was a very disgusting report. It was written by a fringe person who shouldn't be given such scale, but normally you don't really respond to fringe people. But when there are things there that are so egregiously wrong, then they need to, this needs to be a catalyst for people around the world to be responding and making sure that people know the truth. And while I run an organization that does that day in and day out, and I encourage people to go to honestreporting.com and to subscribe, to follow what we put out on Instagram and Facebook and on X and on LinkedIn and on TikTok, I want everybody to do their part on their own because I believe that you have been effective. I believe that your social media posts that maybe have made you lose some friends have saved lives and will make the entire region become safer for the future and enable you and your friends and your family to visit here because there are better days ahead for Israel and for the Jewish
Well,
people with the help of God.
you literally brought tears to my eyes because that is what we're fighting for. We need the world to know the Jews are back in Israel, like we never left, but who are we? And it is the Bible. And what we're saying is people are saying, "Oh, you see these Bible Jews? They murder. They eat little children." And it's the absolute horrible opposite of the truth. And what this war is about, the information war especially, is who are the Jews? What is the Jewish nation? What is Israel? And that's what they're lying about. If it was any other country, they wouldn't lie like this. But because it's Israel, because it's the biblical Israel, that's why they're lying about it. Wow. Right. Bill, I can't thank you enough. We should do more of these short, sweet ones. It's a gut punch to getting the truth out there. I really appreciate it. Thank you so
I
much,
hope I'm
Gil.
giving people hope.
You're
I,
you're you're giving more than hope. You're giving understanding and knowledge. You're shedding light on the truth, and that's important.
and you're giving faith, and that's what matters in the end.
I'm giving what I need most. Okay. Thank you so much, Gil. Be blessed.
Pleasure, Eliana.
Have
God
a
bless you.
wonderful Shabbat.
Shabbat.